what you hear when you hear the words good enough? If someone is a good enough runner, we probably don't think of them as of Olympic standard. If someone is a good enough singer, we probably don't expect that they'll be singing in Covent Garden or the Sydney Opera House. If someone's a good enough builder, we probably don't want him building our home. And if someone's a good enough writer, they're unlikely to be on the bestsellers list. Inherent in these judgments about someone's good enoughness is the assessment that good enough is actually not good enough. And yet to be good enough, to feel good enough, is something that I also imagine most of us aspire to. Of course, some people do feel good enough. It's just the way they are. And I'm not talking about narcissists here. It's just people who have always felt good enough in themselves, and they probably don't give it a thought. It just is. Just like every newborn baby in the whole world. What newborn baby is not good enough? We look at them in wonder and love and acceptance, accepting them just the way they are. And then they grow up feeling good enough. Or they don't. If the messages we receive in our world and the feelings we feel within that world tell us that we're good enough, we will retain that wondrous sense of self that we are all born with. I am good enough. Not perfect, good enough. But if the messages are otherwise, if the feelings that we feel are inadequate, unimportant, boring, ordinary, plain, bad, you get the picture. That sense of good enough gets forgotten, gets lost, gets hidden. I don't imagine it's ever permanently lost, but it can sure feel like there's been a big layer of concrete dumped on it. In my work as a counsellor and psychotherapist, I was witness to many client stories. And I came to see over time that no matter what the story, there was a consistent, ubiquitous result of I am not good enough. A colleague recently said to me that she'd been angry all her life, and so she said the universe sent her angry clients. So it made me ponder as a therapist, if I was seeing that not good enoughness in my clients, not that I thought they were, their feelings about themselves, I wondered if maybe it was because that was how I felt. And I interrogated that. I think it was important to know what was mine and what was theirs. But while I was still practicing, I saw this not good enough, not just in the consulting room, but out in the everyday world. People from all walks of life, no matter what their skill set, thinking they were not good enough. So I decided to explore it. I wanted to study what the thoughts, the feelings, the behaviours we have, the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, what our self-talk is, usually critical, often incomplete, but how all those things contribute to having a sense of not being good enough. And I decided to write about it. My clients very generously and courageously gave me permission to use their stories. Through their stories, I wanted to show how we can have a knowing that we are good enough just as we are. And I've shared my own personal story in that you, hopefully the potential reader of my new book, can find your own good enough self. My hope is that you will be able to say, just as one of my clients said with great clarity and finally, you know what? I am good enough. That's why I wrote on becoming good enough, telling you stories from both sides of the couch.